All right. So again, welcome very much. I have enabled the transcript here at the bottom. So if it is distracting to anybody that it is not necessary for you, there is a way to disable that on your screen by hitting the hide captions at the bottom of your screen. So just want to make everybody aware of that. My name is Tyler Havens. I serve the fraternity as the Director of Chapter Services, what that means in terms of this program is that I oversee our consulting program. We have a senior educational leadership consultant or senior consultant for chapter development. Titles change daily here at the central office, so please be aware of that. Jasmine Flores, who is assisting us here with the program, as well as two educational leadership consultants who travel and meet with a variety of chapters around the country, Talisha Woodson, and then Sarah Earl, who will also be part of assisting with the panel today. But the stars of our panel this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are logging in from, Amna Hassan from the Xi Chi chapter at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. The University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee is a mid-sized public institution in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which, hopefully people would get that. And that they were also, if you were not aware, our Mitchell Nelson Outstanding chapter for last year, which recruitment is a big part of that process. And then also we have Tom Ruin. I apologize, Tom, if I got that wrong. You can correct me when we get you on here, from the Alpha Kappa chapter at the University at Buffalo, who got 7 feet of snow probably about 2.5 weeks ago. So those of you that are tuning in maybe from California or Texas or anything like that have never seen that before. I know that J.R. Olson, who is in Minnesota, has absolutely seen that before. So want to then turn it, and excuse me, the University of Buffalo is a large public state institution out in Buffalo, New York, where Alpha Kappa, pardon me, saw one of the largest growths in the northeastern province between last year and the year before. So we are excited to have Amna and Tom here with us to share some of their wisdom and how that worked for their chapters. So I'm going to kick it off with Tom. If you can give us some initial words of wisdom, and then we'll have Amna share some of their words of wisdom, and then we'll get right to your questions. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Tom. I'm at the Alpha Kappa chapter of the University of Buffalo. Just to begin, sorry if there's a little background noise. I'm in a room with very thin walls. So I'm actually on campus right now, but yeah, I'm excited to be here, excited to share how Alpha Kappa has been able to grow throughout this past year or so. So my initial words of wisdom, I'm actually the outgoing president of the Alpha Kappa chapter right now. So something we do a lot that we really think benefits our chapter, we get our name out as much as possible. So getting a lot of points of contact with potential business students. And that's really helpful when you have a good relationship with your school of management or your business school. So we work really closely with like the dean of students, the dean of club affairs, things like that, to help us get our name out there and things like that. So something we've done this past semester and past year, we help sponsor host events within the School of Management. So we've hosted like the Career Expo. We put on our own public speaking event that was open to the School of Management. This allowed new students to come in, kind of do ongoing recruitment, because this actually wasn't during the recruitment cycle. So we do multiple things like that where we partner with the School of Business. It kind of provides more credibility to your chapter coming out, because there's sometimes the connotation that we're a Greek organization. People get confused with that being with like a social or something, and you kind of have to differentiate yourself. So that's a good thing we do that I really enjoy. And when I talk about having the multiple points of contact, we do things like we create recruitment videos, and we have presentations going on within our classrooms. So our connection with our Delta Sig faculty members as well really aids in that, and being able to have those multiple points of contact with students. We're constantly handing out like flyers within the school, we do like pens with the DSP name on it through like the merchandisers, the official DSP merchandisers. And when people see your name throughout the semester on things like pens, flyers, like small merchandise things, it kind of keeps them like fresh in your head, whether it's during your recruitment cycle or after the recruitment cycle. It kind of helps like keep your name in there. It keeps us in the forefront of their mind, if that makes sense. Um, Other than that, we do like basic like tabling in our student union, which is like the main area of the school. Um, and that's like a great way to get a lot of people passing through, a lot of number of students. You kind of have to differentiate, make sure they're business students as opposed to any other major, whatever it may be, which is probably the most challenging part of that. But just having those genuine conversations really helps. And I can't emphasize enough, having a great relationship with your school of management is probably the most beneficial thing that we've seen throughout our chapter. That's all I have for now is my introduction. Sorry if that was a little long. I'll pass it over to Amna.
Great. Thanks so
Hi,
much,
thank you,
Tom.
Tom. Yeah, I would agree with a lot of those great points. We do a lot of similar things here at Zion High. I think one of the great things that we do is we really try to market our chapter year round. I know when we do like class visits and stuff, we like to associate DSP with like running a business so that students can really get their hands on and have that experience before they kind of step out into the real world when it comes to internships and things like that. One of the great kind of pieces of advices that we've been using for the past couple of years, I joined back in 2019, so right before COVID hit, is that trying to start your recruitment process earlier. So maybe that's before your semester or trimester starts, really gets that foot into the door. I know UWM can be kind of considered a commuter school. We have students that really drive to campus rather than stay on to campus. So starting early, getting that name out there earlier tends to bring a lot more people in. And so it helps our brothers prepare as well to know, hey, when you go out to new classes and you're starting to meet new people in the semester, maybe mention that, hey, I'm in DSP. It's a great fraternity. It's a great organization. We're professional, and knowing that, you know, you're representing your chapter in classes and in other organizations. So that's kind of our go-to for now. But thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both so much. We appreciate that. And as we go throughout the program, please feel free to drop questions in the chat box or unmute yourself to ask the question live. We're excited and want this to be engaging for all of you and get, you know, any thoughts or questions that you have answered. So we do have one question here so far dropped in the chat. The first question we have is, are there any suggestions for engaging potential pledges, potential new members, depending on your terminology, and maintaining interest when not in an active recruitment cycle? Now it looks like you're ready to go. Fire away.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I know for our School of Business, we have a great relationship with our marketing department, and they have TVs that are up on the, you know, around the lobby and in between classes. So what we try to do is when we have events and kind of great achievements for our chapter, we'll put them up there. We have a lot of brothers that are in the marketing department. So I think last month we did like a movie night where we watched Coco and did some coloring stuff. So we put that up there. This past week we did an event with Habitat for Humanity, which is like a community service event. So we put photos up there as well on the TV and just let people know, like, hey, Delta Sigma Pi is not only like working on your professional skills, but we're also giving back to the community, and we have brotherhood bonding. So really maintaining that presence on campus throughout the semester, and as well as building a relationship with your professors. I know a lot of our pledges in the past have told us that the recommendation of our professor at the time is why we decided to join. So really, when you're a student, maintaining that contact and letting them know I'm in this organization.
Yeah, I could answer that too. So something we do kind of that I was talking about was like the ongoing events that we do throughout the semester, sponsoring events and things like that. But I would say the bigger thing that we do is our activeness on like social media, Instagram and LinkedIn. Those are huge ways to keep connected with people, encouraging potential new members to connect with you on LinkedIn, and then keeping posts throughout. We have like a Delta Sigma Pi Alpha Kappa page. And so we'll do posts on there throughout of the events we're doing, whether it's community service or professional events.
And just to merge the two of those, I'm just going to say, Amna, Tom, both great recommendations, things that we've seen on the road. I mean, everything from making sure you're keeping contact and keeping connection with all the people that you're touching base with, either during your traditional recruitment period or even after the fact, making sure you're re-engaging them and having very intentional touch points. Again, if you send a blast email inviting them to a random event, or maybe not even doing that and just re-engaging them only when it's in your 2 weeks of recruitment, it may be harder to get in touch with those individuals. So being intentional, it's okay to go grab coffee with a potential recruit and express the expectations of what it means to be in DSP. In addition to that, come to chapter, come try us out. Nothing, again, we have opening and closing things that they wouldn't be allowed to see, but beyond that, they'll see how your meeting minutes run. They'll see all those different aspects of your chapter. And I think the best recruitment we've always seen that has been year round is when people can really get a good inclination of what you are as a chapter. Yes, we do professional events. Yes, we do service, but how can we bring that to our campus and local community so that people can actively see what you're doing? And no matter if you are a business major or not, you're going to for sure tell your business major friends about it. That's the big goal.
Great. Thank you so much, all. Tom, you had mentioned social media as being a part, and you had talked about your video boards, and I'm assuming that that's also going to play into your social media. And start with Tom first. Do you, as a chapter, have any specific social media schedules and or theming that you do across your social media platforms for getting that name of Alpha Kappa and Delta Sigma Pi at the University of Buffalo kind of out there that people can expect to see?
Yeah, so I think a mistake we made in the past that kind of was holding us back is we would post really heavily during the recruitment cycle, the beginning of the semester, to kind of draw people in. But I think posting more consistently throughout the semester really benefited us. Highlighting all of our events. Anytime we put on a big event, a professional event, we bring in professional speakers. We have like people come from Target, Enterprise, wherever it may be. We highlight that every time so that people know what we're about and they can get to know like the actual chapter, what we do. We post like the fun things we do. If we go brotherhood events like ice skating, because you really want them to not just see us as like such a professional thing. We're a brotherhood too. We have both aspects of it. So you kind of want to promote the best of both worlds with that. I would say we don't necessarily have a specific schedule we do, but definitely being consistent. We post at least once a week at the very minimum, sometimes multiple times a week if we have more going on. So just making sure you're keeping up with the chapter, and it should be like a reflection of what you're doing throughout the semester or the year.
Yeah, and I can definitely piggyback off of that as well, with the mention that our chapter, so for recruitment, we usually have like a theme. I believe last semester it was an office theme. So it was I don't know the famous quote, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That very famous quote. So we use that and we kind of cycle that through the recruitment phase. But then after recruitment happened, our marketing head continued with posting similar things throughout the semester, and kind of relating it back to our just the theme of DSP at that point, as well as I don't know if you guys know, on Instagram they do cool little infographics. So we kind of urged our marketing VP to tap into that for events. So you have this beautiful visual along with an interesting event, and encouraging brothers to repost that, and kind of creating an incentive for that too is, hey, maybe you have business friends that aren't in the fraternity, but that can kind of get them engaged and pull them in with that as well.
Wonderful. And the only thing I would add on to that is that, again, social media. The big things that we always recommend students when we're on the road is being intentional with what you're putting out there and making sure that it's directly reflective of what you are as a chapter. It is free for people to reshare, repost, and spread the word about whatever is going on in your chapter and to be excited about it. Because again, perception really is reality when it comes to social media marketing and marketing yourselves as a chapter. If people just see one person posting avidly on things versus a whole chapter banding behind something and being excited, that's going to send two very different messages. And, you know, in addition to that, the other free marketing tool that we can all use is what our schools are doing. Social media hashtags, very specific campus hashtags, things that are going to get more people's attention. You know, whatever your target audience is, if it's those incoming freshmen, they're probably going to look at your school's name and their graduation year, and seeing, you know, what people are saying about it, how they're excited, maybe they're starting classes. That's a great way for you all to input yourselves into that equation and that formula. So
Yeah, and I will add one more thing before I ask Sarah our next question to get moving along, keep moving along. One of the things that I always talk to our team about, and when I talk to students about, how can students find you? You know, many of our chapters will have, and rightfully so, and it is great, and I love it, you know, DSP Alpha Kappa or Xi Chi DSP. That is fantastic. But new students don't know that that's associated with the University of Buffalo or UWM, right? So finding a way, whether it be through a handle or a hashtag, making sure that students can find you at your institution. So next question I want that has kind of popped through, and I'm gonna start with Sarah. What are some of the recommendations that you have in when a student expresses interest in the organization, how you follow up with that student to bring them kind of into the fold? And then we'll pop over to Amna and then Tom if you've got some additional pieces. So Sarah, I'm gonna throw it to you.
yeah, that's great. So again, I think the first thing, you know, when it comes to recruiting, have a plan, make sure everyone knows the plan. It does not fall on the sole responsibility of the SVP to be doing all the correspondence, to be doing everything regarding recruitment for the chapter. So when we get people interested and they come to us saying, okay, what's next? Where are we at versus pledging ceremony? What happens in between that? First things you would want to do, be intentional and be personal. Make sure that you're going the extra mile to send that personal inquiry to them. Don't just put every recruit that showed interest at the table in one email. You know, take the extra few steps to make it a personalized invitation and make sure that there's some sort of follow-up there or action that would prompt someone to respond. As we all know, as students, we get a million emails from our campus, and oftentimes we see them and then we delete them immediately. If it seems like one of those things that I can just easily delete and it doesn't seem detail oriented to me, that's what's really going to determine if someone is looking at it and they're going to stay engaged with you. So again, making sure that you have something lined up. If it was someone you met at a table, maybe inviting them to the next community service event that just so happens to happen around recruiting, professional event, inviting them to that chapter like I was saying, or even if they're comfortable, what are you comfortable with? Would you rather we text you, we call you? Would you like to get together and can we answer any questions for you so that everything's ironed out prior to pledging ceremony? I think that's the best practice for any chapter to utilize, big or small.
Yeah, I could go next. Oh, sorry. Did you want to go?
Okay, I will go. Never mind. So I think those are all great mentions. One thing that we do at Xi Chi is we have kind of a master spreadsheet of people that come to any type of potential event, tabling, someone that you just spoke to maybe in class, and we get their emails. So with that, what we do is our SVP will send out a weekly kind of update and reminder of events that are going on, just so they have that reminder. I think one of our biggest kind of push is to remind. I know I forget about events all the time. So even within our own like chapter events that we have, we just send that, you know, constant reminder thing. Along with that, what we do is we'll invite them to events, maybe if they decided not to pledge with us for that semester, invite them to events afterwards and then let them know, hey, how would you be a good fit with DSP? Or here's how we fit in. And you know, there's a spot for everyone. Make sure it's that welcoming environment to know that everyone has a place within our chapter, and that we're here as it's a family with what it is, as well as a professional environment. And then to make sure that we really stress to our brothers when you are talking to a potential to express interest, be engaging with them, and give them examples of how they benefited from their recruitment process and from, their time as a brother.
Yeah, like Sarah was saying, it's important to have like that personal connection with them. So what we do is we get 2 points of contact. We get their LinkedIn, or we have whatever brother is talking to them, networking with them, say, hey, do you want to connect on LinkedIn? And through there, you can send personalized professional messages, as well as when people come and sign up at like our tabling or whatever it may be, we get their email down so that we can also send them personalized emails, say like, hey, I know you're excited to come to this maybe specific event. It's this day and this time, just to remind them of when things are and things like that. But I think the 2 points of contact definitely helps, because if you get their LinkedIn and maybe they don't use LinkedIn as much, they might respond to an email more. Or if they prefer phone number, whatever it may be, like Sarah was saying, it's just easier that way to have the multiple points of contact rather than just hoping they look at a mass email like Tyler was saying before.
Well, and I will always throw in here that if there's a way for you to capture it digitally, sometimes it's hard to decipher handwriting. So if you could have a laptop available, that's always probably beneficial to both the potential pledge as well as the chapter. So not saying handwritten notes are not a way to go, but just keep it in mind. Great thoughts, everyone. So next question that we have in here, and again, keep these coming in, drop them in the chat. If there's anybody that has a question that you want answered, just start waving your hand or unmute and cut us off. We can see you. We love it. Tom, this one's gonna start with you, okay? What roles do you have for members to play differently throughout the recruitment process? So, somebody may not be the most comfortable talking in front of a classroom or in front of a group. What are some different things that your members may do throughout the process to, continue to move that ball forward if they may not be the greatest, for lack of a better term, recruiter or the most outgoing person in the world? Because we know that not everybody is, and that makes a great part of the chapter to have all of these different components. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you first.
Yeah, so what we do, obviously, we want to push people outside their comfort zone a little, like encourage them to do these presentations and whatnot. But, if they don't feel entirely comfortable doing that, we have other alternatives. We may have them go and put the flyers around campus. We do what's called chalking. So they let us write in the front of the boards in classrooms, like Alpha Kappa chapter, meet the brothers this day, this time. It gets erased every night, so we have to constantly be redoing it every morning. But brothers have the opportunity to do things like that, or just work on marketing materials. If they're really creative with graphic design or something, as opposed to presenting, they can help create flyers or create Instagram posts, or they can run the Instagram if that's something they feel more comfortable doing. So we kind of give everyone that option. And then a way to keep people engaged and keep like doing these things, we do like fun awards. So we'll give someone like recruitment king or queen at the end of the week or the end of the month. And so whoever like went above and beyond in their services, whoever maybe recruited the most people, they get like a little crown or a little like diploma award at a brothers meeting or something, so that they just keep engaged and it keeps it fun. And it's like friendly competition among brothers and things like that. But yeah.
So I would also like to agree with a lot of those stuff where it comes to maybe not the nonverbal aspects of recruitment, whether that's the way you market it or the way you kind of put it out into campus. I think one thing that we do encourage is if we have a brother that's, typically on the shyer side of things, and they want to do a tabling session or a class visit, we really pair them up with a brother that is one of those louder, outspoken, kind of extroverted personalities, just so that they can kind of balance off that relationship of, hey, I already know this person, so maybe that'll help me get out of my shell in front of this classroom of, however many people it is. So really kind of signifying that within DSP, we have relationships of, comfortability within our brothers that help us grow out of our shell, and showcasing that as well to potentials that, you're here to grow with each other.
Absolutely. And just to second what Amna just said, I mean, the relationship piece is so important. That's why we probably joined our chapters and why we will continue to be a part of this organization, because it just is different. I would say I agree with everything that has been said. The only thing I will definitely reiterate is that, again, it's important for everybody in your chapter to at least know something about your chapter, be able to give a good elevator pitch of just, this is what we are. This is what we strive to be. Maybe we're not entirely there yet, but we all had a reason for joining. And this was my reason for joining. I think if people become more comfortable talking about that openly, they may find some commonalities with their peers on, hey, this might be a good fit for me, or maybe this is outside of my comfort zone and something I need to do to try to get out of that comfort zone. So I think having that all across the board, number one, be appropriate, but also be known by everybody in your chapter is crucial. And the SVP can definitely take the reins on that. Maybe even having a little training prior to your official recruitment period of just, this is the game plan. These are the types of events we want to have. This is our goal. Always having something to strive towards and go towards is going to be crucial. And, you'll see people's passions and their strengths fill in the gaps of what exactly needs to get accomplished. But I love the Instagram takeover idea. I love all of those different components. So great.
Perfect. Great stuff. I want to point out for those of you who weren't able to see it, Samantha, thanks so much for the thought here. For talking to classrooms, they have found it was helpful for brothers to go in pairs and have a few why and what they love bullet points to make that elevator pitch easier. So kind of jumping off of what Sarah said. So thank you, Samantha. I appreciate that thought. Next question, I'm coming to you first. Okay, here we go. What recommendations do you have for getting to know recruits or potential pledges?
Absolutely. So what we do, we've actually extended our recruitment period to 3 weeks. And what we do beforehand is really encourage brothers to get to know every single potential that attends our events, whether that's someone that's come to multiple events or someone that's just at one particular event. We encourage them to go out of their way and really talk to them, find a point that they have a unique connection with that potential. So then when they come back to the chapter and say, hey, I met this person and we really bonded over our love of cars or whatever that point may be. We also encourage brothers to know what their expectations are as a brother. So whether that's, your professionalism, your networking, your whatever we may have as a brother, and try to communicate that across to when you meet a potential. So it's just going back and forth and reiterating, maybe talk to someone new at a potential event, or make sure it's a group so it's welcoming, and asking them questions about, hey, maybe more than classes. How are you as a person? Where are you from, your background, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm not touched on a lot of good points there. I would say the biggest thing is just be yourself. I know when I first joined back in like fall 2019, a long time ago, we used to have like bullet points of like questions you should ask and things like that. I think it's easier if you're just yourself, because then you're not getting recruits asked the same question 20 times by the same brothers. Like, hey, where are you from? What major are you? Just be genuine, be yourself, because the reason they should be coming out is to join the brotherhood, and this fraternity wouldn't be anything without its brothers. So it's really the people that make us who we are. So everyone is unique. Everyone has their own thing they bring to the table. So if everyone just is themselves and is just unapologetically them, then, you'll get your point across a lot easier to the new recruits, I think.
Great. Thanks so much. That's fantastic advice. Next question, Tom, we're coming to you first. Okay. What campus resources do you utilize?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing we utilize is we have what's called UB Linked. It's kind of specific to our school, but you guys might have something similar. It's basically a hub for all the clubs. And when you have an event or whatever, you can post it on there and it comes to the top of people's feeds. So they'll see that we have a recruitment event where we're doing community service, blanket making for a local homeless shelter or something. And they can see that and say, oh, I'm interested in that. They can RSVP, who's attending already. That's one of the most helpful tools that we have on campus. And then we also use the Career Resource Center, which is also something a little more specific to UB. Again, other schools might have something similar, but that helps bring in like companies that want to come speak to your club and things like that. So we'll get recruiters to maybe come to like a recruitment session and come talk to pledges. Again, it makes us just more legitimized as an organization. They see that we're a professional fraternity that brings in businesses, that we're going to help get you internships and full-time jobs and things like that. So those are the biggest two resources that we would utilize at UB, or the University of Buffalo, for those of you who don't know.
Tom, I get it. I went to Fredonia. I know exactly what UB means. So Fredonia is also in the Buffalo, New York area where I went to as an undergrad. Amna, resources that you use at UWM?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of brothers that work for our School of Business Marketing department. So they kind of have an in when it comes to prioritizing DSP, on the TV screens for the advertisement flyers and all that stuff. We also have a department called Career Services that deals with a lot of companies in the local area. And what we've done in the past is try to maintain a good relationship with them so that when they have students that come to them for help for professional development, they can recommend us to those students and say, hey, this could be a great source of really working on yourself and becoming a better professional, a better person outside of, just the classroom. And one of the main ones that we've kind of been trying to hone in on recently is our professors. DSP at Milwaukee is a little bit smaller. We don't have that much organizational presence when it comes to a lot of our clubs here, but maintaining relationships with professors we find is kind of one of those underrated benefits, because not only will you have that as a personal connection with a professor, but they will then turn around and say, hey, this student is a great example of what I want, post graduation, if I wanted someone as an employee or just someone to have a networking relationship with, and they're part of DSP. I know a lot of our brothers have great relationships with a lot of the professors on campus, and we get a lot of our recommendations that way.
Wonderful. I know Sarah's chomping at the bit here. One of the things that we do as we do consulting visits across the country is we also meet with a variety of administrators, whether it be your deans, a student activities office, or somewhere within the School of Business, that we actually ask these questions. What resources are we not? Is the chapter on the campus not utilizing? So Sarah, I'm gonna kind of give you a little bit of a platform here. What are some of the things that you hear from the administrators on campus that our chapters are not using that they could?
Yeah, absolutely. And great plug for our consulting program. Like, we love having those conversations and getting in there. And especially if you find yourselves, maybe you're thinking in your seat today, do we have the greatest relationship with our School of Business or with our student activities or the equivalent to that? If you answer no, like, those types of things are a great excuse to have us come in, maybe even with you, and make that introduction. But again, I would say from us, usually those offices have plentiful resources that usually go untouched, because sometimes it's a fear factor for a lot of students to approach those individuals and go to their dean to ask for things like funding or exposure or advice. Those are things that oftentimes a lot of people do and maybe don't realize is available to them. Other organizations, usually, especially in the climate of today, getting back to a new normal, schools are very, helpful and wanting to see collaboration between our organizations. So while we do love that you all have your exclusive events and your professional events, and you all are growing as individuals within this chapter, it is okay to share that wealth and to spread out and go to different people and make even a larger event and have a lot of people combine forces to do so. The only other thing I would add, just to talk about the faculty members, I love talking about this on visits. They are a one-time investment to your chapter. Of course, they get initiated, they don't. They can be a resource to you that may be a constant longer than any of you in the chapter. And getting their recommendation, as simple as, can you provide me 2 names of people you would recommend to be in our type of chapter? And again, you accumulate those. It's a proactive effort towards recruitment that you aren't necessarily doing hands-on. So I'm a huge fan of that, Amna, and I'm so glad you mentioned that. But those are usually the biggest pieces we hear from the campuses, organizations, faculty, and their offices.
Great, thank you all. So the next question, I'm just gonna limit to Amna and Tom. Sorry, Sarah, we're gonna kick you out of this one. Amna, I'm gonna come to you first, and then Tom, follow this up. What was the biggest challenges that you faced recruiting last term, and how did you overcome them?
So I think a lot of the challenges we got is so our numbers really increased significantly in the past year or two. Our chapter I think almost doubled over one semester, and with that, it's really keeping up with the communication between brothers and the communication of the schedule. Like I said, our recruitment schedule increased to 3 weeks, and within that you're hammered with events, and on top of that you have class, you have internships, you have outside obligations, um, and so really communicating with brothers their expectation of how you should how many events you should attend, how you should be presenting yourself at these events, and really just maintaining that throughout. I know one of the big things is that you pick up recruitment with this rush of energy, but then you might drop the ball. So creating that energy throughout the 3 week process was just something that we really had to find the flow with. And I think this next semester we really learned from that, and we know how to keep brothers engaged with the process.
Yeah, I would agree with Amna. One of the biggest challenges is we do have a longer recruitment period too. So just like facing brother burnout, having them not get like bored or overwhelmed if it's such a long period of constantly talking, constantly networking, having those breaks and being able to interchange brothers to do different jobs and different duties is a huge thing that will really help get more people and help the brothers stay engaged, because you want your brothers to be putting their best foot forward and put on like a happy face so that like people are encouraged to come out. You don't want brothers to be burnt out and kind of like dragging their feet throughout recruitment. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges we face, but we're able to overcome that pretty well by rotating brothers throughout different duties, giving everyone like a different opportunity to try new things throughout recruitment.
Right. Another question that popped up here in the chat, I'm going to come to Sarah first. What are some of the things that Delta Sigma Pi chapters can highlight that can stand out from other business fraternities or business, I'm going to expand it, business clubs even on a campus?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different levels to this question. I think this number one is the first opportunity for you to look inside as a chapter and, ask yourselves, am I proud of what we're doing? Do we like what we're doing? Do we feel like we're enriched and we're meeting our why factor? If not, then you're most likely not going to meet the why factor of other people looking at your organization and considering it. So that's going to be the first, check to see, okay, are we on the right track? Are we presenting ourselves well? Would I want to join again? But I would say like the biggest benefits of DSP, again, it's going to be a personalized experience. And the cool thing about our type of organization that I always highlight even during my visits is, it's great and wonderful in your collegiate chapter lives, but it continues to serve you, should you want it to, well beyond, your graduation. And we go through that a lot, everything from the networking opportunities that are plentiful and will always be there, to alumni engagement opportunities, volunteer opportunities. You could work for central office if you wanted to, right? There's things that are going to continually be there for you as a support, and it's going to be detail oriented to you, because again, we always talk about this even during the DE&I portion of our conversations. Everyone in this room, in this virtual room, is different. But the one thing that does bring us together in here is that we are members of this organization. So that's really something to capitalize on, to take advantage of, and realize just how many networks we have. Don't take it just from your school or from your state, but really look out there and see how many people we have. I think that would be my starting point, and then fine tune it to your chapter.
Absolutely. I would agree with all those points. I think one of the biggest things we try to push is letting potentials realize why you as a potential would be a fit for us, DSP, and vice versa. And really honing into the point that we have this huge alumni network. I know when I do class visits, I'm very vocal about the fact that we have so many different types of new personalities and people of different backgrounds that I would have never had met in my other classes. I'm a finance major and some of my best friends are HR majors. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet them, but they are, again, some of my closest relationships. And moving forward, the alumni network that I have, two people that I can go back on for different types of questions, not just DSP related, whether that's, career related or any type of personal matter, is that you have this foundation to really fall back on, and highlighting, that it's not just professionalism, but it is brotherhood, and it is creating a sense of I belong in this community, whether that's in Milwaukee, in DSP, or at our school.
One thing that we do that we like to highlight a lot is like our professional achievements, whether it be through alumni or current members that have like outstanding internships, or whatever the percentage of brothers that have internships may be. For us specifically, we had 100% job placement for our 27 graduating seniors last spring. So that was huge for us, something we were really proud of. So we told people that during recruitment, like, hey, we did have 100% job placement. Obviously, we can't guarantee that for everyone, but it is like a big accomplishment for our chapter, things like that. Brothers that maybe work outstanding places like JP Morgan or wherever it may be. We kind of like to highlight those, and we have like our chapter magazine laid out with our internships and things of that sorts, so that people can look at that and see what our brothers were able to achieve, so that they could achieve that in the future as well.
Right. We are coming up on 15 minutes before the hour, so have time for a couple more questions, and then I'm going to give Amna and Tom one more chance to kind of give some wrap-up thoughts. So if you've got some additional questions, please drop them in the chat here so that we can get to them. Tom, the next question here is going to be for you. What was your favorite recruitment event or your most successful recruitment event?
Yeah, my personal favorite is a new one we started last fall that we've kind of continued doing each semester. We call it community cards. So we just gather pledges gather recruits rather. And it's a community service event where we sit down and we write cards to, whether it be a local community or someone in the UB community. We wrote it to the Health and Services Center last time to kind of show that like we support them, we appreciate the things they've been doing. And it gives people the opportunity to be like creative and genuine. You kind of see that different side of them and see like what they're writing on the cards, whether they're creative, writing cool designs, whatever it may be. It's just a really fun event that I really enjoyed attending the last 3 semesters. And then most successful event, we had a cool one called, it was TED Talks and Boba Tea with alumni. So we brought like boba tea, and we had everyone enjoying that, because that's like a hot commodity at the University of Buffalo. We have like a little restaurant in the common, our dining area, which people can get that. And then we brought in 2 alumni to kind of give like a TED Talk style thing. And it was really useful for the recruits to be able to interact with them and kind of see what they've been able to gain from the fraternity and our chapter specifically.
I think one of our most popular events, and what I found in the past, is if you really kind of lure them in with food, people will show up. So we do what we call DS Pizza, which is our info session, or you could do donuts with Delta Sig, but anything with free food, a lot of members or even our chapter members will show up, and potentials will show up to really engage with that. And it creates kind of a good opportunity. So it's an info session, so we do have a presentation, but afterwards, it's not just, one person sitting and talking at 40 people in a room, but we have a little networking opportunity, and, you're sitting there. I feel like food brings a lot of people together. But as for, I think one of the favorite events that we had, and this is a little different, but back when we had, during the pandemic, everything was virtual. We did kind of online cards for nursing homes. It was like Valentine's Day, and we created Valentine cards. So just everyone together on a big, Zoom call, felt like FaceTime. We were all coloring and making our digital cards. And it was very interesting to like have these conversations, and we'd switch out breakout rooms and all that stuff. So you really had a chance to connect with everyone at the event. Would probably be my go-to event.
And just to chime in here, I think some of my favorite recruitment events that I have seen oftentimes involve other people. It's great to put it on as a chapter and have those service and professional events. I mean, those are going to be great. But I've seen everything from like a past, present, and future panel, which was very insightful. They took someone who had recently become an alumni member, someone who is a little bit drawn out of an alumni member who's been away from the chapter for a while, someone currently in the chapter, and then someone who just recently went through the pledge education program. It gave a lot of perspective, from everyone in different areas of their life that most likely have the same consistent message that this organization really shaped them and helped them in some way. So that was a really impactful one that I got to witness. And then the other one, I saw a faculty one that was things to know and here's how to do it. It was very to the point. They got different professionals in on giving a little excerpt of information, whether it was just a little how-to of something of an area of their expertise or a passion project of theirs, different little mini episodes of that, if you will, in one event. It was very impactful. It double served as not only a great professional event, but it was also an awesome networking opportunity for even students to feel enticed to go to those things, because oftentimes it would be individuals highlighted that they have class with and they want to get to know in a different lens other than just when they're presenting to them in class. So two of the really big ones that I have seen work out really well.
All right, we do have a question in the chat about chapter leadership funds. What I want to kind of throw out there with chapter leadership funds, if for those of you that are not familiar with those are a fund that is a donation that is run through the Delta Sigma Pi Leadership Foundation, that is utilized for attending national events or bringing in speakers, can co-sponsor with with your school of business. And so utilizing chapter leadership funds for recruitment, it is more likely than not to utilize that for a speaker that's going to benefit the School of Business and co-sponsoring with the School of Business. And if you are utilizing dollars for that speaker, there may be some availability to use it for advertising purposes for that speaker as well. So those are all reimbursed funds. And so the other thing that you can utilize those for, like I said, national events. So as you are recruiting and talking about attending the leadership provincial or the lead provincial conferences or lead schools or grand chapter congress, you can utilize those for any member or pledge even of the chapter to pay for their registration and or travel. So just want to make sure that we address those. I've got another question that I'm going to throw out to all three of you here. Somebody's asking, are there still chapters that are doing any type of virtual events to accommodate for any individuals that may or may not be able to make it to all of your in-person events? And if there are, what do those look like? Sorry, I'm throwing y'all on the spot. If you don't know, I've been kind of feeding some of the questions so that we are ready and rolling. So now I'm just vamping so that people have an opportunity to think about that. So now I'm going to throw it out to y'all.
So I think what we have done is not necessarily an event, but if we have an individual that's interested and unable to make, let's say, one of the pizza info sessions, what we would do is then send out those kind of materials that we used for the event and let them know, hey, if you want to meet with any brother or the SVP at the time, we are more than willing to do that, and then encourage other brothers to attend those meetings. So you have that sense of it's not just a one-on-one meeting. But we try to give them resources so they can learn more as well.
Yeah, I would say kind of the same for us. A lot of our events are more in person now. Just hearing from a lot of brothers and potential recruits, that's kind of the majority of what people want to see. So a lot of times if people do want like a virtual option for things like that, we would have them reach out to our SVP or whatnot and make accommodations for them. But we don't really do too many virtual events anymore, if any, just because now not as many people are online or want to have that option as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen chapters try to combat this a little bit, even having just certain accommodations in place should they need it with virtual learning, and just, hopping on something virtually, having it be open to even those that attended in person, and being intentional with, if I'm deciding to opt to do a virtual event, I'm not just showing up and there's 5 brothers of this group in a Zoom room and I feel awkward and out of place and kind of on a spotlight. I think there definitely can be accommodations made to make someone feel more comfortable and, set the expectation with them. Are you looking to more so meet a bunch of us? Do you want to just meet with the SVP? Do you want us to try to zoom in the event and have a virtual option, a viewing option? Those types of accommodations.
I think one thing, sorry, I did forget, I really wanted to add on is in the past, we've had, we were fully in person at the time, but we had some events, and I don't know if maybe this could just be a recommendation, but it was a panel style event similar to this, where we had a professional that was, I believe, in New York that couldn't come down to Milwaukee for the event. So we really marketed that out that, hey, this will be a Zoom event from the comfort of your, office or bedroom, and to really recommend attending that event. So maybe having just a professional come in over Zoom could be a virtual event if that's something that we really need to do or want to do. Sorry.
Great. All right, we've got one last question that I'm to throw out to y'all. Then we will give Amna and Tom and Sarah one last chance to kind of put a bow on all of this for us. So this last question is going to be, with the pledge education program requiring that first meeting being your pledging ceremony, Big Brother introductions, and pledge education meeting 1, thinking about Big Brothers and pairing of pledges throughout the recruitment process, what recommendations do you have for either the potential Big Brothers to be involved, or how you go about thinking about some of those potential mentor pairings? I'm going to start with you.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, we really recommend brothers getting to know the potentials through unique pieces of information. So whether that's, your love of cars, or for us like Bucks basketball, we make a note of that and let the chapter know as well that, hey, this potential really enjoys basketball and this potential really loves baking. So once that happens, we let our VP pledge education know as well as our SVP, and they kind of get together and then do those potential pairings of these two seem to have good personalities, as well as they look like they can have a good working relationship, having that in mind as well when we do those pairings. A recommendation we have for potential bigs is really just to know your expectation of what it means to be a big, being that kind of contact point for the chapter. You're representing the chapter as well as the whole program during those, however many week long your education program is. And then making sure that they know to continue this on after recruitment as well after the process. So you have that, that point of contact.
Yeah, I think a huge point that I'm gonna kind of hit on is that if you want to be a Big Brother, you should definitely be playing an active role in recruitment. It's the best way to get to know the potential new pledges and things like that. Because if you're not playing a role in that, then what's to say you would potentially be a good Big Brother in the future and you'll be there for them when they need you, whether they're a pledge or beyond that. So it's really important that they're there making those connections early, and that the people that want to be Big Brothers are taking the extra step, putting in the effort, and putting their best foot forward to show what the fraternity is all about. Because if you're going to be a Big Brother, you should want the next generation of potential Delta Sigs to represent and embody the fraternity as well as you do.
Absolutely. And I agree with both of the things that were said here. I think the only other thing I would add is just making sure that you understand the main goal. Of course, we would love every single Big Brother to be, the best friend of the pledge, right? And that ends up being a success story and they're friends for life. That's the cliche that we hear all the time. And, as much as we would love that, again, the big picture thing is that the Big Brother mentorship program mentors the person through the program and that they're a reliable, trusted person. That means they're in good standing in the chapter. That means they understand the expectations of the pledge education program. And also, they're going to be a support. I've seen a lot of chapters take a lot of recommendations and feedback from pledges, especially during, new members and potential members during recruitment events, getting some of their feedback of like, hey, is there anybody that you gravitated more towards, or you realized, oh, we're both marketing majors. That's great. We maybe had a class together and we got along through that. And then really taking some of that feedback into some of the decision-making process, because again, it should be within the comfortability of the new person coming in, who they gravitate towards, who they would like to be that mentor. So kind of giving them a little bit more of a say. I'm always a fan of, but I loved both the ideas shared here as well.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you for all of these questions. Thank you all. I want to do one final thought from all of our panelists. I'm going to start with Sarah, and then Tom will come to you for a final thought, and then Amna will put a bow on all of this for us for the final thought for all of you out there. So Sarah, take it away. Final thoughts.
Oh, it's always a lot of pressure going first. Okay. To try to encapsulate what we just talked about for the last 45-ish minutes, I would say being yourself and making sure that you know your chapter and the people in your chapter know your chapter. Everyone in here is going to have a different structure. I know my chapter had a different structure than everybody else's as well. And again, you're going to know what's going to work best for you. These are just some tools to get you started. Again, using your resources, people like us, central office staff, this is our shameless plug. We are here day in and day out to help you. Your leaders, those types of individuals. You should not feel like recruiting is just the SVP or just us and we have to try to figure it out. So I would definitely say use your resources. And in addition to that, make sure you are being authentic to what your chapter is and giving people a little taste of everything that there is to, offer from it.
I'm actually going to build off a little bit what Sarah was saying. I would say the biggest thing is to give an accurate representation of what your chapter truly is. You don't want to misguide someone and then they join and they say, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting at all. If you put on a ton of professional events, highlight that. If you put on more community service events, highlight those. If you do a big event every semester, let them know ahead of time so that they're prepared for these things and that they know what to expect when they're coming in. And I would say the other thing is definitely put your best foot forward, especially when you're talking to pledges. You really want to, recruits, you really want to emphasize that this is a professional fraternity. You want to uphold that high level of professionalism. I know we encourage brothers to wear suits if you can, to show that we teach you professional dress and we'll show you that and we demonstrate it. And don't downplay DSP, because it's a great organization, a great fraternity to be a part of. So definitely highlight all the things it has to offer on a chapter level and on a national level.
Yeah, I feel like this is a lot of pressure going last, but I want to say that both Sarah and Tom said amazing things. And we really pushed all of that, as well as knowing to market your fraternity year round. We really like to let brothers know that, you are now representing not only, the 60 of us in this chapter, but the whole national, Delta Sigma Pi, and that your actions should be that, fulfilling those expectations we have of what a brother is, and really doing that year round, doing that at events, in the classroom, on campus, all that stuff. And making sure that you really highlight, why you chose to be a Delta Sig, and why you're continuing that, and highlighting what you love about it. I know for our chapter, we really say that we are a family that helps each other, and we have that, welcoming group, and letting other people know that as well, is that this is what you would be coming into.
Great. All fantastic pieces of advice across the board. I want to thank again Amna, Tom, Sarah for being part of the panel. I want to thank Jasmine and Leisha for facilitating your questions here, and all of you for joining us. We really appreciate it and hope that you got something out of it. As you can see, Tom has dropped his contact information in the chat. You can reach out to our team at hub@dsp.org. That will reach any of our consulting team members. Also want to mention that and Amna has dropped her LinkedIn there in in the chat. So reach out to both of them with any questions or thoughts that you want to pick their brains on. Want to point out that, and one more shameless plug, that we do have this is a part of a 4-part series of recruitment resources. So we do have another one this time next Wednesday, also online. So if you have not registered, you are welcome to do so. Would love to see you all back next week. And then we will have a couple in January that we will do some wrap up as you get ready to start the next term. So again, if you've got any questions, Amna and Tom have dropped their stuff in there, hub@dsp.org. And we wish you, if you are still in finals, good luck on your finals. A happy holiday season. Stay safe. If you are in a warm weather, in a warm weather state, we are jealous. For those of you that are not, like most of us here on the panel, we are looking forward to the snow, and be safe. All right. Thank you again, everyone. And we will make this recording also available for later use. So we appreciate you. Bye now.
Thank you, guys.